Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, osia dem yopo.
You're all welcome to PENDREAM TV, the only channel that brings you the best in politics and latest updates. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like and also share for other new members to watch as well. You can also leave a comment after watching or send us a voice note on our WhatsApp number, which is 0277128777. Thank you. The ACP has once again come out saying he has no bad feeling about the MPP government or the Nanado's government, but only with the way they treated him and persecuted him is the only thing he feels about. And he also dared them to go ahead if they do not understand the judgment and they want to move ahead. They have the free will and he is ready to prove them wrong. With that much I do, join me listening to what he said. And also said something about the NIB or the BNI, which will shock you as well. With that much I do, please join me listening to it yourself. Your comments are most important to us. Do leave a comment. Thank you.
To collaborate with others or support any attempt to unconstitutionally remove government.
I will never do that. Look, if you look at my background, I have been on at least 3 peacekeeping missions in the world. I've been to Sudan, where I served in a higher capacity as a training officer. I went to Somalia, where I served for about 4 to 5 years as the training and development coordinator. And I went to Haiti with the UN as the planning officer. Now, these are not common positions that you think, and so I know what it means to destabilize a country, and I know the consequences. I was only drawing attention to issues that could bring us challenges, and which we must watch. And what is wrong with it?
But you are a police officer.
Yes.
If you have any of these outline, mindful of your wonderful history,
yes,
shouldn't the hierarchy of the police be the source where you share this opinion? With the command, with the IGP, with the other superiors that you have in the police office? Should you be acting like a layperson, sharing such opinion on a platform, WhatsApp, with other people present? Is that not problematic?
Are you implying that even the speech I gave at IDEC talking about political vigilantism and the fact that there is political interference in Ghana Police Service and other things was also problematic?
No, I feel that those are very bold declarations.
So that it was,
and you were applauded for it.
Very
in fact,
good.
You were
so
as one of the few police officers who had the temerity to say the things that people knew but could not say.
So,
but it's talking about Arab Spring and these related things, not taking it too far.
No.
This is benefit of hindsight.
And I'm saying that it is only when you understand Arab Spring and then civil uprising in a myopic way, that is where you understand you will be taking it too far.
You know that even as a communication person,
yes,
if you are talking to people,
yes,
and you know that there's a potential that they misconstrue what
yes,
you say,
yes,
you will not lend yourself to that possible interpretation.
Now, if people misunderstand, they just have to ask for clarification. And we all ask for clarification all the time. For instance, we are talking right now. If I said something that you didn't like, or you didn't understand, or you felt was too something, you could ask me for clarification. So on a WhatsApp platform, where we have the Minister of Defense, Minister of Interior, and political activists, police officers, military officers, what else? We should all have a common understanding of such basic terms, not to overstretch it, unless people have political, they have political reasons why they did what they did.
And in hindsight, as you speak today,
yes.
Do you think you would have actually decided not to belong to certain platforms, like the tag platform, the alert platform? I
have no regrets for belonging to tag platform. And for the records, I have not removed myself from the platform till today.
You're still there?
I'm still there. People who have left the platform, I'm still there. The fact is that at the time I was on the platform, I didn't see anything untoward. You see, if I had removed myself, I wouldn't have gotten access to the information that I got to defend myself.
Oh, that's interesting.
Very good. So from the beginning, I told myself, whatever they said I have said, I'm ready to face it.
But let's take you out.
Yes.
You heard how the others had procured arms and all of that. Were you worried about it?
You know something? I don't want to go into that. I don't want to talk about...
Because these are people that say were somewhere related to you.
Raymond, I don't want to talk about them because it will mean that I'll be passing some judgment on whatever.
The court has ruled on them.
The court has ruled. I am not ruling.
Okay.
Take what the court has said.
Well, you think they are innocent?
I'm not making any comments on their rule.
Did you know that they had purchased these arms?
I was not aware, but let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Raymond, you are on a number of platforms. If a few people on that platform form another platform and they are planning something, will you get to know?
Well,
you won't know.
Yes.
So, you see, and that was how I proved my innocence yesterday.
Okay.
Because, you see, before I joined the platform, it was not until they did the disclosures that I realized, oh, before I was brought onto that platform, there existed more than a year earlier or so, a platform called the Executive Platform that they allegedly planned something on.
Okay.
Whether that allegation is true or not, I'm not going to make any value judgment on that. And yet, the prosecution sought to imply that I was on that platform and I was part of the planners.
As in the earlier platform,
Very
the
good.
executive one.
You see, what I realized was that they did not do a thorough work. They were just carried away by emotions that, oh, now we have gotten Agordzo. Let us pin him. And therefore, they hurriedly picked the words and other things. He was on this platform, he was on this platform, only to come under cross-examination to say, I don't remember. Yes, that was what happened. To say, oh yeah, he was on that platform, he was part of the planning. Only to be pushed under cross-examination to say, oh, we don't really remember whether he was there or not. That was what happened. And then because they saw my name over there on other related platforms, they now decided to say that, okay, that money was even paid as part of the preparation for the coup.
The 2,000.
The 2,000. Meanwhile, they were not there when I paid the money. They had no evidence when and how I paid it until I told them. So you could not ascribe a different motive to it from what I had said. Unless you have other evidence, contrary evidence.
Now, all of this is very interesting. I mean, because you were put before court.
Yes.
It's been almost 4 years.
Almost
a little
4
bit
years.
over 4 years.
Yes.
Of course, there was a time that they were not even denying you bail along the
Yes,
line. And
yes.
you struggled to get a bail.
Struggled.
You went on hunger strike.
I never went on hunger strike.
But we're told that you were on hunger strike.
I decided not to eat at BNI for 5 days.
Oh, okay.
And that was a personal decision. And I'm not going to explain it. It was a personal decision. When I was arrested first, I decided not to eat. And when they even arrested me the second time, I decided not to eat their food. And I wouldn't explain why I didn't want to
Why you
eat
suspected the food?
I didn't want to. I could not trust people who were fabricating
Or you
stories.
were fasting?
No, I was never fasting. It was a decision I took that I wasn't going to eat the BNI food because people who are able to fabricate stories and concoct stories about your involvement in something that you know you have not done, how could I trust them to eat their food? That was the principle I stood for. So I was not fasting. I was not on hunger strike. I just decided not to eat. And I was drinking water. And the water was brought by them, but I knew that water was brought in a sachet, maybe 2-3 sachets. So anybody could just pick and drink. And that's what all of us were doing. So I drank a lot of water. That sustained me, and I was even stronger than those who were eating.
Tell me about your time under some of these conditions. How was it like?
I would say that it was inhumane. You were not allowed to, you didn't know the time. You had no information from outside. You could not receive visitors. If you really have to receive visitors, the visitors could be frustrated because it could take them 6 to 7 hours before they could get to you, so they would prefer going back. And that is one thing that I think that, you see, Raymond, let me make this appeal. Anytime somebody is arrested in Ghana, the common thing we say is let the law take its course. Let the law take its course.
Due process.
Due process. Do you know the kind of due process that is taking its course in DNI? Do you know the kind of subculture that they are practicing there?
I have no idea.
Are you aware that it is difficult for lawyers to get access to their clients over there? Are you aware that they most of the time prevent lawyers from seeing their clients? Are you aware that they don't allow lawyers into their interrogation rooms? And that they do their own interrogation and come out to say that the person confessed that? So anytime security analysts and other things will let the law take its course, I laugh, I smile.
But you've been in the police for
I
almost
have
40
been in the
years.
police for...
You are not aware of this?
No, listen. I have always been aware of the subculture, not only in the BNI or NIB, but also in the police service.
Okay.
Let me admit that at a point in time when I'm teaching, I tell my students that, look, sometimes we are not too comfortable about lawyers coming into our cases or coming to make inquiries about our cases. But
even though that's a lawful thing
that's
to
a
do.
lawful thing to do. But wait a minute, what about if your relative was involved?
Okay.
What if your mother was involved?
Or in this case, you were the one that...
Or in this case, what if you were involved? Another time I asked that question, it changed their views and their perceptions. Okay? Anytime they said, oh, some small slap is needed for him to tell you, I said, what if your father was slapped that way? How would you feel? Would you say that was a small slap? So that kind of approach was what I was using, and those are some of the areas that I differ significantly, because I really will want to go against the normal way of doing things, especially the subculture.
Is that what landed you in trouble?
Maybe some of them.
Perhaps you spoke up too early, too soon, and too loud. You think so?
Well, I have never regretted my speaking out, because at the time I spoke out, I had served in the police service for about 32 years.
Yes.
And remember
that
that
doesn't sound like too early anyway.
Yeah, so it wasn't too early. And by the time I left in last November, I was 36 years in the police service. So you couldn't have said that it was too early. And don't forget, this is not the first time that this kind of things are happening to me.
Well, I have no idea.
Let me just give you, if you listen to Kwaku Bako on News File on the 9th of November, Saturday, with Samson, he said that this gentleman, what I'm going to say may sound prejudicial, but he went ahead to say it. All the same, though he knew it was going to be prejudicial. I thought he was going to restrain himself because I was under investigation, I was in court, but he went ahead and said that he had been removed from the service before. Yes, I had been removed from the service before because I stood for what was right. Because I challenged my regional commander over an issue, and because of that, I was removed from the service. That was in 2007. I was a commander at Bolga at the time. Okay. I was a superintendent of police at the time. Somebody decided to use the back of the police cell as a thoroughfare. And I said, no, you can't do that. And I blocked it. That was the sin and the crime I committed against the police service. The regional commander came there. I don't want to mention names. The regional commander summoned me. I explained to him. He agreed with me. Third day, he comes to me with the woman and then orders me to open the place up for them. I said, no, master. Sacrificing the interests of the police for the interest of this woman. Match me for the IGP. I ended up being dismissed from the police service. So you see, I always stand for what I believe is right. And even if I get trouble, I still stand for it. And that is why from the beginning of this case, I said, and that was on the 6th of November 2019, that I was going to stand for this to the end. And I stood for it to the end.
Do you think this was persecution or
persecution? It's persecution. And in one of the book chapters that I'm writing, I said the title is Prosecution or Persecution. And I proved that it was persecution.
And you believe it's because of the small disagreement you had with the defense minister? Exactly.
The small difference I had.
Not because of any history you have in the service.
First of all, because of my IDEC presentation. You see, people will always want to delink my IDEC presentation from all this because they are novices in security issues.
What did you say at IDEC?
IDEC, I said specifically that when you look at the composition of the police council, it is the presidency. It is the party in power. Because out of the numbers, about 95% of the members are appointed by the president. And therefore, they act on the instruction of the president.
That's
and
factual. What's the
that
problem
is
with that?
factual.
What's the problem with that?
And no, let me tell you, in our security setup, in Africa in particular, and you need to know the people who were present at that gathering. General Andor was there.
Okay.
Who was also a prosecution
Witness, actually.
and who also was the director of defense intelligence at the time, who led the investigation. Okay? So that rings a bell. And many other BNI, other people were there. And I had already received calls and messages from people that, look, they are looking for you. Because I also had friends, and I had served at certain levels, that be watchful, looking for you. They are not comfortable with the things that you said. And so I wasn't surprised that all of a sudden, once they saw my name on a tag platform, which they thought was doing something untoward, they began to link me to it. And then, without restraining himself, the Minister of Defense, Mr. Dominic Uchiwu, without restraining himself, just said we must bring him to order. And soon after that, I was invited to BNI.
Are you a political partisan person?
If I were, you would have known by now, because I had served. Look, do you know the people who managed the election that brought MPP to power?
You mean 2016 or 2000?
2016.
Okay.
The election where even not a fly died was managed by myself and Mr. Yohono, and with me in the thick of affairs.
Christian Tete Yohono.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
With Mr. Kudalo as the IGP.
Yeah.
We managed that election that brought them to power. If I were a politically partisan person, that was where you should have known this. And then I was appointed as Director of Transformation, where I worked to the best of my abilities to bring about certain things that I thought should be known by the public, who would do advocacy for us. Do you know how much money we got from that transformation program? I don't need to mention it.
Do you have any misgivings towards government?
Why will
the
I?
Akufo-Addo government.
Why will I? Except that for now, I'm not pleased with them the way they treated me. I don't have any misgivings about them, but I'm not happy with the way they have treated me.
Is it true?
They have mistreated me. They have persecuted me. And even when the court has pronounced me acquitted and discharged, the Attorney General is walking out there to say that if they had done their work very well, I would have been also imprisoned. How could you be doing this kind of thing? If he is the Attorney General, if he had anything else, if he had some problem with the judgment, he knows what to do. Go to the Supreme Court. Go on appeal, because by the constitution of that panel...
But you're not afraid of that. It's an option too on the table, actually.
Option?
As in, it's possible.
I dare them to go. Put me on record. I dare them to go to the Supreme Court. Because the evidence is so clear. Look, I had done nothing wrong. I have done nothing wrong. They were just persecuting me. Wherever they go, they can't get me by the grace of God. I serve a living God. And that's how come I have been so confident. Yesterday you saw that I wore white to that place. None of the accused persons wore white.
Did you know anything that the rest of us did not know?
I knew I was going to be acquitted and discharged by the grace of God. One, because I knew they had no evidence against me. Two, because I knew I was being persecuted. Three, because I know that their evidence was fabricated and therefore without context, and that when brought to serious scrutiny, they will fail. And fourth, because I believe in the judges. By their conduct and everything, I may have challenges, but I knew that by their utterances and other things, they were going to...
Was there a time during this trial that you thought, no, this may not go my way? Was there a single time?
I wouldn't comment on that, because, you see, I must be careful when I'm talking about certain things. I may have my reservations on a few things I'm putting on record in my book that I'm writing. When the book comes out and you read it, fine. But I wouldn't make any further comment on that.
Are you done with the police now? You are retired, right?
Yeah, but there's life after retirement.
Should they call
If
you
I
back?
didn't tell you,
Now they give people post-retirement
hold on.
contracts.
If you didn't know and I didn't tell you that I was 60, will you believe it?
Oh yeah, you don't look it, Abi.
Very good. So I still have time for myself. I can do advocacy. I can work elsewhere. I can teach at the universities. And where I've been teaching, I had been teaching before this thing happened.
Certainly you toned down. Were you not toned down?
Am I toning down now?
It doesn't sound like that.
Yes. So I'm kind of. You see, who you are cannot be hidden. Who you are cannot be hidden. By nature, I cannot run away from the truth. That is how come I will be confident enough to mention the defense minister's name to you. Somebody else would have shied away from it, but I'm mentioning it. I'm mentioning it because I know it to be a fact. He can sue me if he wants. And you will see that I'll go and disgrace him in court with the evidence that you said it. Didn't you say it? Didn't you write it? Didn't you? It is on record. And there are many people who will be listening to this interview and will say, yes, we know he did.
Your lawyer has hinted of malicious prosecution and possibly seeking damages in furtherance of that. Do you support that?
I spoke to my lawyer yesterday. He intimated that, and then we discussed some of these things. It's an option on the table. I've not heard him speak about it. But if he thinks that that is the best option, why not? I will go for it.
You support that?
Why not?
You feel wronged?
I have been wronged. Do you know how this thing has cost my family? Emotionally,
how?
Psychologically. Do you know? I had to be strong to keep the family strong. I had to be strong. So the strength of my family, apart from God, the strength of my family rested in the fact that I was strong. I rested my faith in God, knowing that this is how it's going to end. And I had always told them, this is how it's going to end. And God will never disappoint that. So I cannot change the way I speak. I cannot mince my words when it comes to speaking the truth. Many people have cautioned me to be careful not to talk to the media. I've listened. But I believe that, you see, sometimes this kind of tyranny reigns in silence when silence prevails. When everybody is afraid to talk. They have done it to me, and I'm quiet. They will do it to another person. But if they do it to me, and I speak out, and say this is the person who started it, and I mention his name, next time he will not do it to another person. Next time he will not do it to another person. And when he is doing it, he will be very meticulous. If I were doing it, if he wanted to take me on, a mature security expert will not make that comment before taking me on.
As we speak, how is the police going? I mean, you are out now. Do you think the police is being run properly by IGP Dampare?
You know something? I have my own perceptions and my own ideas and my own critiques about the current IGP. But I will not voice them out here because it will steal the show.
Okay.
If on another occasion you decide to
discuss police
reforms,
or transformation, an office that you previously held,
and how I view the current IGP's performance in the light of police transformation, I will speak to you on that.
Now that's an interesting perspective. Okay, let me take it out of the police. How do you think this country is heading?
That one too is too general, and I wouldn't want to talk about it.
You don't have a view on the governance of this country?
I wouldn't want
I thought you were bold and you stated your views clearly.
I have always been bold, but you know something? At the right time, you want to hear about my views on the way this country is being run and other things, I'll tell you. And you'll find part of it in my book.
Are you being paid your entitlements?
No, I have not been paid my entitlement because I was on interdiction before I left the service. And by our regulations, the CI 76, when you are on interdiction, you have to, before proceeding on retirement, you have to wait until the case is exhausted. So now that the case is exhausted, I have to apply for my money that they've deducted over the years, and also apply for my my entitlement.
Would you want to be doing anything else in Ghana, or you, as you have an international career that's big, leave the country?
I will stay in Ghana.
You stay in Ghana?
Yeah, nowhere to go.
You have an idea what you want to do?
When the time is ripe.
You want to still contribute to the development of this country?
When the time is ripe, you see me in the thick of affairs.
When they offer you an IGP position, will you take it?
That is a remote one.
Yes,
that's a
possible,
remote one.
It?
It's a remote one, but when we get to the bridge, we'll cross it.
Post-retirement contract, your lawyer says may be another way to assuage the harm done you. Would you take it?
When we get to that bridge, we shall cross it.
Now, finally, to those who held within their hearts the belief that you had done something wrong, those who even believe government's case against you, after what has happened, what do you have to tell them?
Well, they have their own judgment to make now, and I have nothing against them. Some of them were politically inclined, and those who knew me knew that I couldn't have done that, and I believe that fair number of Ghanaians believe I couldn't have done that. If they believed it, and now the evidence is out there to say that I wasn't involved in any planning of coup, and therefore I was acquitted and discharged yesterday, I leave it to their conscience. They have to revise their notes. Maybe some of them will still believe, like the minister, the attorney general, that if they had done their work very well, who prevented them from doing their work very well? Who prevented them from doing their work very well? So if some of them still believe that they could help the attorney general come up with a better case for appeal, remember, in 2020, I was granted bail, a self-recognizance bail. The attorney general made noise, and I'm talking about noise in quotes, that they were going for appeal. Did they ever go for the appeal? Because the judgment was so succinct, was such that there was nothing they could do about it. The judgment I read, that was read yesterday in court. I tell you, I'm not a lawyer, but I've read a number of judgments. It was one judgment that was backed by the law.
Because it went in your favor?
Not necessarily because it went in my favor, but because that was the law they spoke. Because it didn't go in my favor alone, it went in the favor of others. And that tells you that it was not all about me, it was about others. So all the things that they put together, they evaluated it and realized that this couldn't have been the case. You were concocting a story which didn't hold.
The family, how did they take your acquittal and discharge?
Very excited, in joyful mood. My children were there. My spouse was there. Family members were there, and they were so excited because it's been something that had been hanging on our necks for some time now. We were unable to travel. We were unable to even, within Ghana, you cannot travel because you had to report on Monday to BNI and report on Thursday to BNI. And therefore, there was no way you could travel for 1 week unless you have a special permission. And so it restricted me. And for that matter, you could not even do any work because you went to court Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, you report 1 day in a week. What were you going to use it for? So it was really a restraining moment, a very terrible moment. You are helpless in some instances when you know that you could have done something to help your children. And emotionally, it was tormenting. And psychologically, very tormenting. But one thing, I rested my hope in God. I had faith in God that it was going to end in His praise and it was going to end in my favor. And that was what happened yesterday.
Is Ghana worth dying for, from your experience?
Have I even tried to die for Ghana? I have a challenge when the majority of people, you get into trouble and people think that that's your trouble. Mr. Kwame Pianim said something recently when they were launching something about late Professor Tamils at Legon. He said that when you have been accused for this thing, you are alone. You lose your friends. You lose your acquaintances. Nobody wants to talk to you. I tell you, I lost a lot of friends. People were scared of calling my phone because they thought their phones would be tagged, their phones would be whatever, bagged, whatever. They had their own terms of using it. I lost most of my good friends because they are not ready to talk to me. They cannot even congratulate me now because it's been more than 4 years since we ever spoke. And so you are isolated. You see, the whole thing about putting this kind of charge on you is to isolate you from the public. And for that matter, once they isolate you, you become vulnerable and they could do anything to you. And if you don't manage your life very well, you could either get sick, anything could happen to you. But I thank God that He has held my body together and everything till this time. And I'm so grateful to Him. Before you conclude, I'm grateful to a lot of friends who stood by me. I can't mention their names here. They've been so good. They've been financially. Okay. I traveled recently to Kumasi, and some of them will send you money. Once they hear that you are going somewhere, they will send you money, 2,000 this, 1,000 this. I'm so grateful to them. Within this period, I lost my mom. And I had to bury my mom. In this situation, I thank all those who helped me to do that. And I thank my family for standing by me. I'm grateful.
I'm grateful to you for your time, Giselle. We should do more of this in the future.
More of this.
Well, folks, that's where we end today's edition of Upfront. Many thanks to you for watching.
Across Africa, a new era has begun, shifting our...
Thank you. PENDREAM TV really appreciate your time. Please, if you have not yet subscribed, hit the notification bell, like, and also share before signing out. Thank you.
PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal e Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.